Well. It's been a long time. I'm still uploading podcast episodes. I just been recording myself lately, but I'm in the building with Nick today, and it was very necessary. I need some special effects, so I had to come to the studio. What's going on, Pimp? How you been?
Alright, how you?
I'm ready when you are, man. Let's get to it. Was you tuned into me? You watching the Dribble by Gully TV, available on all streaming platforms. PA Net. Let's do it. Subscribe to the channel, The Real Gully TV, hip hop, sports, and fashion. Pillmatic 3 on the way. Produced by the great THRU. Got some heavy hitters on this joint. Truck drivers, what up? Make sure y'all tapping in, man. The Real Gully TV, hip hop, sports, and fashion. You already know what it is. Yeah. Pillmatic 3 on the way. Shout out to everybody who's going to be on this upcoming project. I know y'all ain't heard me on this side of Nick's recording devices lately, but if you follow the Dribble Podcast, I'm still uploading episodes. Make sure you go check out my full-length interview with Reed Dollars, Philadelphia battle rap legend. Back to work. Everything's going wonderful for me, and I appreciate all of the support. Shout out to Zip with the Drip. I hope y'all enjoying the zip code episodes. And some people told me that I need to put the zip code on the actual podcast. I got to figure out how to download those episodes and put them in the MP3. I'm going to get on top of that this week. Anyway, a lot going on online. A lot going on. I came here today purposely to talk about Tony Busby. Something has to be done about Tony Busby. He's just doing too much. He's doing entirely too much. I have a rebuttal in regards to some information I received this morning. But before anything, they got to do something about Tony Busby. It just seemed like Tony Busby is a top-notch wreck chaser. He's targeting anybody that's famous, and that's after seeing what happened with his last lawsuit with Jay-Z, which I found to be preposterous. Everybody who follows Jay-Z in his career know Jay-Z attracts and interacts with some of the most gorgeous women in the world. Nothing about Jay-Z said that he would be involved with raping a 13-year-old or nothing like that. That case was here today and going tomorrow. I think Jay-Z is suing Tony Busby for pursuing those charges against him. And if I'm not mistaken, he's no longer allowed to practice law in New York State. Anyway, Shannon Sharpe is the latest target of Tony Busby. In his lawsuits, Tony Busby filed by way of Facebook and by way of Instagram. You got social media posts associated with lawsuits these days. That's crazy. He got on his social media platforms and announced that he was pursuing Shannon Sharpe and filing a $50 million lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe for some sexual assault claims. Boom. That happened, I believe, Monday. This morning I woke up and said some of the new information that's been released said that apparently Shannon knew that this was coming, and Shannon tried to give the girl $10 million. This is all over social media. That changes the trajectory of my opinion on this whole thing. Anybody who tries to give an accuser $10 million possibly they possibly guilty. He did something. $10 million is a lot of money to part with. Jay-Z said, this is what I got lawyers for. I ain't giving up a dime. Jay-Z's energy, everything about how he carried it, stated that this was someone who would be exonerated, and he was eventually exonerated. But the fact that this information has been released that Shannon Sharpe offered this chick $10 million, she apparently a 26-year-old. I've seen pictures. Shout out to Gotham God on Instagram. He posted pictures of her. She a little college built white girl, got a little ass on her, not a lot. Social media bitch, probably, on OnlyFans, whatever. Shannon Sharpe, he offered $10 million to make this shit go away. And then they released some audio of him saying that, when I see you, bitch, I'm gonna choke you. I think that was the nail on the coffin as far as him getting out of this situation without paying an extremely obscene amount of money. So the fact that she was offered $10 million and she declined it, and then she turned around and got him on record and threatening her, is extreme leverage. This happens on the heels of Shannon Sharpe apparently about to sign a deal for $100 million for his podcast. So as soon as Tony Busby received this information, he struck. I believe he held this in a tuck. Shannon Sharpe went live. You can go on my YouTube channel and see Shannon Sharpe's rebuttal to this, and he said that he is aware of a video. I guess they got a video of this sex act that was committed, and Tony Busby is in possession of an edited version. Shannon Sharpe says put out the whole 10-minute version. Whatever the case, it's real messy as far as Shannon goes. If you follow Shannon Sharpe online, on his Instagram page about a year ago, there was some audio released of him fucking a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And it's just messy. And I initially thought that maybe he did that for some type of publicity or something like that. I don't know. But now that he got this fucking case, it's just, the whole thing reeks of perversion. But he offered this girl $10 million to stand down, and she declined the 10. So I'm expecting this to eventually be settled. It's probably going to be settled. If he offered her 10, that means he don't want no smoke, and he know that this is going to do some damage to his career. Man. The whole thing with Tony Busby, it just seems like he has some racist undertones, because he keeps pursuing black celebrities. He's on Puff ass, he on Hove ass, he now on Shannon Sharpe ass. I don't know what it is about the black celebrity and these sex cases. It seems like any black man of any stature has some type of tumultuous experience with these sex cases and shit. Bill Cosby went to prison about some sex shit. R. Kelly's in jail doing 30-something years about some sex shit. There's a hadith in the Holy Quran. There's a hadith in Islam where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, said in the hadith that there's two things that will get a man in trouble, and it's his genitals and his mouth. And that's been proven to be true. If you don't have control of your genitals and what comes out your mouth, you're probably going to be in some type of trouble. But that's what's going on with Shannon. This Kanye West thing is something that I have to talk about. I hope they don't flag my video. If not, if so, you can listen to this podcast episode in its entirety. I think this is episode 64, season 2, on the Dribble Podcast, available on all streaming sites. I had a discussion on YouTube the day that they broke the news of Kanye West's new song, Cousin, in which he describes some type of abuse, sexual abuse. I didn't want to be involved with this shit orally or discussing this shit. The fact that it's the underlying act is Kanye performing fellatio on his cousin. It's just disgusting. Not nothing that I want to really be chatting about. So I did my live stream and I moved on. And I asked my viewers to go ahead and listen to it and tell me what did they get out of it. So I woke up the next day and there was more information available about the song. And according to what I'm reading, this is what's been said. Kanye found some magazines that apparently belonged to his mother. Right? Kanye and a cousin who I understand to be younger than Kanye, started to flip through these magazines and saw some sex acts. At which point, Kanye ends up sucking his cousin's dick all the way until he was 14. It sounds to me like Kanye West admitted by way of a song to being a sexual predator. That's what it sounds like, as well as probably having blatant homosexual tendencies. I tweeted about it, and people talking about, yeah, he was a kid, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. No, I shouldn't. He should be ashamed of himself, because at 14 years old, I was 14 years old. I'm black, just like Kanye. Kanye mama black, my mama black. At 14 years old, I was eating pussy, right? And a chick told her friends about it. And at this point in the world, it was almost extremely taboo to be eating pussy, especially if a chick gonna go and tell everybody. But I knew that maybe this was something that wasn't accepted by everyone in society. Because when she told everybody started to talk about it and shit. And it got back to me, and I didn't feel good about having a reputation as a pussy eater, right? At 14 years old, any young man, knows that he has no business with a penis in his mouth. There's no way you can associate that with abuse. This wasn't an adult that was doing this to Kanye. There wasn't no weapons or guns involved. According to his own admission by way of this song called Cousin, he was sucking his cousin's dick until he was 14 years old. Kanye has some problems. And you got people saying that, well, this is why he's been acting out. What do you mean? He just started acting out in recent years. He wasn't acting out when he was performing Through the Wire, when his jaw was wired shut. When he put out College Dropout, a legendary album and shit, he wasn't having no problems then and shit. But apparently this is a part of his story. I don't think there's no place in society where this can be rationalized. Again, I was 14 before. When I was 14, I was in a juvenile home called Vision Quest. This is a home for some of the wildest, preteens, teenagers in Pennsylvania. And everybody there at 14 was carrying it like an adult. Everything about everyone there was carrying it like an adult. I'm not saying that 14-year-olds at Vision Quest had an absolute mature mind. But I know 14-year-olds that was there understood what homosexuality was. Everybody there understood what that was. I read something that associated child behaviors with the Big Bang Theory. And they were saying basically that you can spot greatness in a child as a kid. I mean, a greatness in a man, the greatness that you detect in a man was identified in him as a child and shit, right? Leadership qualities can be detected in a child early. I believe that any child at 14 years old understands that this is something twisted. You know why? Because at 14, you want some pussy. I remember my dick being hard as a brick at 14. I could look at women on TV or women that was around me as a child, my mother's friends, and I knew what a big ass looked like, and I knew I wanted to fuck her, even though I'm 14 years old and this is a grown ass woman. Kanye West probably admitted to being a sexual predator. I think at a point in time, I felt that a lot of shit that he was doing was associated with the 48 Laws of Power, and he wanted some type of attention or some shit like that. But based on what he's saying, by his own admission, this nigga got some real problems. He got some real problems. But that's one of the things that's trending online, this song called Cousin. I didn't listen to it. But if, by his own admission, you're 14 and you got a younger cousin, you sucking your younger cousin dick, you are a predator. And he announced that this song was about him being abused. How the fuck are you being abused when you the one performing the sex act on someone else and shit? That don't sound like abuse. It sound like you are the abuser. You know what I'm saying? So I had to touch on that, and I'm glad that portion of this discussion is over with. We got to talk about the Rolling 60s briefly. Big U, allegedly, to my understanding, he had a bond hearing coming up, or maybe it already happened, maybe yesterday or the day before. And at this bond hearing, they brought up conversations that he's been having on the jail phones since he's been incarcerated. He's on these jail phones saying that maybe that Donald Trump can get him out of the situation that he's in. And in the same breath, he's referring to Donald Trump as the orange-faced man and a bunch of other goofy shit. He's still on the phones saying shit that's extremely incriminating. And now that this case is being exposed to the public to the point everybody's paperwork is out, you got the original indictment that they all was on, the Rolling 60s indictment. You got Brick Baby's paperwork, you got Loose Cannon's paperwork, and then you got this bail hearing. He's facing 600 years, and he's on the phone still trying to solicit support from celebrities and different shit like that. And he's talking and he's saying this shit on the phone. The phones and institutions clearly tell you this call may be monitored or recorded. Big U has a murder case. If there's anybody in the jail whose conversations is going to be monitored or recorded, it's probably going to be someone associated with a fucking murder case. And he's on there talking and talking and talking. This is something that needs to be said. Although he was in a leadership position as the big dog with the Rolling 60s, gang member, whatever. Me, personally, I just can't recall a bully type nigga. And Big U's definitely a bully type. I never, ever encountered a bully that was intelligent. That was never one of their outstanding qualities. I done met bullies that I done been in jail with and you find out they can't read and write. But I've never, ever encountered a bully who was intelligent. It's never happened. And this guy, Eugene Henley, is the definition of a dunce. He 100%. Just think about the movie Friday, who they say his character was extracted from, Debo. Nothing about Debo gave off vibes of having a high IQ. He spoke dumb. He acted dumb. Like, he just seemed like a big dummy. And that's who the fuck Big U is, a big dummy. And these are in the streets. This is something that I've seen often in the streets. The niggas who have the biggest following, who have the most influence over others in the streets, are often dummies. They often dummies, and that's what leads everybody to fucking prison. When you look at crime syndicates, RICO cases, I'm speaking of the black community, it's often a nigga that's dumb as a brick. It's very rarely someone who was intelligent. It's very rarely someone who was bright. Because if these guys were bright, they would be moving different. Big U was just 100% a brute, a big dummy. And I've said this before. He belonged right where the fuck he at. He do. Anybody that preys upon their own people should be in fucking prison. He had a philosophy called the Checkin, where he was extremely predatory towards black people and nobody else. Tom Cruise don't got to check in when he come to LA. Taylor Swift don't have to check in when she come to LA. Nobody of another race is threatened by this check-in philosophy that this nigga was pushing. He put this shit down on his own people, and he deserved every bit of that 600 years that he's facing. He does. So, as of right now, ain't none of them getting out on bail. Brick Baby ain't getting out on bail. Loose Cannon ain't getting out on bail. And Big U ain't getting out on bail. I listened to a discussion last night by DJ Academics, and he said some shit that was funny to me, and I wonder how y'all feel about it. DJ Academics said, when comparing gang members from the East Coast and the West Coast, he said, them West Coast niggas, they don't get no money. He said they don't get no money. They not hustlers like that. They don't get no money. And this is why you see all of them online telling all their business. They telling all their business. They don't hide their identity. They get online with gang colors on. They throw up gang signs and shit like that blatantly, and they openly represent their organization. They say it. I'm from 6-0. On THRU. Like, they openly say this shit and boast about this shit. And it just make you say, like, these niggas don't got no goddamn sense. What I have to support this, and this might not go for all of them, but when I seen the guy who did Pop Smoke's murder go and do his time in juvenile and come back out and do interviews, I knew that this was a different breed of nigga. I knew that these guys were different. Like, that's overboard barbaric. And, of course, you know where he did the interview at. No Jumper. Everything that happened to them niggas put themselves in that position. As we all know, they say 40% of the case and the evidence accumulated against the Rolling 60s come from podcasts, social media, YouTube, Twitter, etc. They really, really put themselves in the situation that they're in. And it's hard to empathize with guys like that when you got a motherfucker like Brick Babies talking on No Jumper, talking about some, and I got more murders than you got fades on 6-0. You're just dying to be put in a penitentiary, and that's probably where you belong. Straight up. I put out a video, and I gave y'all my sentiments on the video that Loose Cannon gave to me to upload to my platform. I want y'all to know something. When I put that video out, I knew that video was going to create extreme conversation. I knew that. I did that. I knew that it was going to be engaged, and I knew people was going to come and watch that video over and over and have something to say about it. And I also knew people was going to say, I'm responsible for him getting in trouble. Even though he contacted me and told me to put this video out. He told me to put a video out of him doing an aggravated assault. Maybe an aggravated robbery. And I did what he asked me for. I put it out. Every day when you look online and you see a video of someone fighting, that's a fucking aggravated assault. When you see somebody stomping somebody out, that's an aggravated assault. When you see the video of the guy in prison slapping the other guy, slapping the white boy out, this is an aggravated assault. We in a society where people be pursuing extreme validation, and they post it. I just happen to have a media outlet. This is what I do. I'm acting in the capacity of a media personality, journalist, newscaster. When you see these videos that I upload to my channel, I didn't contact Loose Cannon and ask him for that video. He wanted some publicity. he was either going to give it to me to put it out, or maybe you would have seen it on TMZ. When you see it on TMZ, you don't question where it came from or anything like that. You watch it and you just leave it alone. When it's a nigga associated with it, you try to bring forth that nigga philosophy. That shit don't fucking apply to me. I've been jumped out of the crab barrel many, many years ago. Everything about me is 100% different than you guys who are watching me right now. You guys who are listening to me right now. I've been redirected. My intentions, my thoughts, my practices, my disciplines many years ago. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol. I'm a different person. This is the power of refinement caused by success. And when you see me on this platform, I'm working my plan. I don't even consider how anybody else feels about anything. You know why? Because we got little or nothing in common. Straight up. So, Loose Cannon had become an acquaintance of mine. We met online. He did several interviews on my platform. The whole time he was on my platform, he did the Loose Cannon. He talked. He shared what was going on with Big Useless, with the Rolling 60s. I didn't do anything but share my platform with him. And y'all enjoyed every bit of it. At no point did y'all say, yo, he's telling on himself. Y'all didn't say that. Y'all just liked the video, left y'all comments, and moved on. I was shocked that the video that he gave me to upload ended up being mentioned in his RICO case. But you know what? He can't blame nobody but himself and the person who recorded it, who I understand right now, I understand that it was probably his wife. Because somebody said that they seen a video, some behind the scenes footage of somebody recording his wife recording an aggravated assault robbery and shit. So if you want to point the finger at somebody, then you can point the finger at his wife, Sharice, and Loose Cannon. For some reason, and this go for all of them, for some reason, they wanted notoriety. I don't know what type of money they was getting off of YouTube or from these podcast platforms, but whatever it was, they felt it was enough to risk their life, because everything that was coming out their mouth was not shit that was consistent with being productive members of society. Everything that came out of their mouth was gang business, murder business, extortion business, Cali business. You dig? What nobody knew about, nothing that was going on with Cali business if they didn't get online and tell the world about their business. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you're a criminal, you need to understand that cameras don't mix with the lifestyle that you lead. Recording devices don't mix with the lifestyles that you lead. Straight like that. Y'all have made it very, very easy for law enforcement to make a sandwich, have a cup of coffee, and sit down in front of a computer monitor and just build a case against you. Because all y'all do is talk and talk and talk. And I don't even understand what y'all get out of it. I don't. It wasn't always like this. When I started doing this shit, there was an element of criminal in the DVD era. And that was guys pulling out guns. You used to see guns on DVDs and shit like that. Did I agree with it? Nope. Did I want it on my platform? Yep. You know why? Because I knew that the consumer wanted to see these depictions, these brash elements of the real streets. That's what the DVDs brought you, the real streets. But these people who pulling out these hammers, they got to deal with that. That don't have nothing to do with me. I'm a businessman. I'm a media personality. Again, I've been Gully TV since 2004. And I never, ever, ever